Our next step is to work the stitches off of this circular onto some double points. And if you read ahead in the instructions, they give you a hint for distributing your stitches when you're using double points. And they say that needle 1 should start at the beginning of round, which is right in the middle of the underarm cast-on stitches, and it should end at the garter panel, and needle 2 would go across the garter panel stitches only. Needle 3 would start at the end of the garter panel and go back to the beginning of round. And I think that it'll be easiest to just work the stitches off in that order. So we're going to start at the beginning of round, which is right in the middle of the underarm, and it means we're going to have to pick up and knit 2 stitches before we start working the stitches off of the circular needle. Here's the underarm, here's the bottom of the sweater, so this is the way the work is. The underarm is on the bottom, the sleeve is going above. We will be working from right to left, which is always the way you work in knitting, and it means that we will always be looking at the right side of the work, and that's important. You want to be looking at the right side of the work, and that means you won't be working inside out. But if you start here in the middle at the bottom and move off to the left, everything should be okay. Now, here's the big challenge, is where to pick up 2 stitches. We, or in my size, I cast on 4 stitches, and so I know that there are 4 stitch columns here available to me, and it can be a little hard to see them. You have some stitch columns that you can tell go right up the side of the arm, and those are too far either to the right in this case or to the left in this case. So you want to be to the inside of those columns, and you want to try to pick up 1 stitch for every cast on stitch. But if you don't hit it exactly right, it's okay. Just pick up the number of stitches that they wanted you to. In my case, it's 4 in total, but since we're starting in the middle, it means I should pick up 2 here. And I will show you how you do that. So I've got another strand of yarn, and I know I told you not to change color at this point. I'm doing this in hopes that it will be easier for you to see what's going on in the demonstration. And you want to insert your needle into a stitch. I know that the upside down V's are the columns I'm looking for because we cast on here and worked in this direction, which means from my perspective now, the knit columns are upside down. So I see a nice promising upside down V right here. I will insert my double point front to back into that stitch. I will wrap the yarn around my needle. I'm leaving myself a nice tail here to weave in later. And then I'm going to pull that loop through to the front of the work. And now I'm going to move the tail somewhere so that I don't start working with that. And I am going to go into the next column over of upside down V's, insert front to back, wrap the yarn around, and pull it through. And now I have 2 stitches. That's pick up and knit, and I will start working off of the circular needle. Things are getting in the way here. This round is a round 1. Everything is just knit. And since the hint said needle 1 should go up to the garter panel, that's what I'll do. I'll just knit all of these stitches that are before the garter panel, and when I come to the garter panel, I will grab a new empty double pointed needle, and I will work across the garter panel. Since it's round 1, work across the garter panel means it should be knit. You can tell that by looking at your stitches. You can see that they were purled last time because that bump is right there under the needle. So that means we knit them this time, which is nice because we've got a lot of other things to think about on this round. We don't need to be thinking about which stitch to do. And that's the garter panel. So now here's needle 3, and I will knit these remaining sleeve stitches on the circular, and then it's going to be time to pick up and knit 2 more stitches in the underarm, and this time I'll do it with my right hand. I'm going to hide this tail, just get it out of the way. There's a lot going on. And all right, so again, columns that go right up the side of the sleeve. We want to be over to the left of that. And I think this is the proper space. The problem with it is that there's a big opening here, and if I work into that, I will end up with that big open hole. So I'm going to go down. There's another bar here. I can go underneath that. I've got lots of strands here, but that's okay. Wrap the yarn around the needle and pull through a loop, and then I'm going to move over 1 more column of upside down V's, go under these 3 strands, wrap the yarn, and pull up a loop. And now I have all of the stitches that I need for the needle, and the beginning of round is right between needle 1 and needle 2. If it's helpful to you to remember, you can use one of these opening stitch markers and just don't put it on the needle because things will fall off these double-pointed needles. There's nothing to hold them on. But you can place it in the fabric underneath the needles as a reminder. And now I have 1 more empty double-pointed needle, and that is what I will use to start working these stitches. You will just start knitting, always looking at the right side of the work to make sure you're going in the right direction in the round. If you notice some purl bumps here where everything is smooth, right side of stockinette, you know you've gone in the wrong direction. And here we are back at the garter panel, and now it's time to purl those stitches. This is a round 2, so I will purl them, and I'm just going to keep going on and on around like this for quite a while. A little later there are some decreases that happen, but for now you're just set working on this small circumference sleeve.